Hey everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at 1 Corinthians 13. All of y'all probably heard it, either read it at a wedding or brought up in a sermon at some point or another. But I want to read this and then I want to talk about a little bit of how it's impacted my life. And how it still should and needs to impact my life. So starting in verse 1. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but I have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and I have all faith enough to move mountains, but have not love, I'm nothing. If I give away all that I have and deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I'm nothing. Love is patient and kind. It doesn't envy or boast. It's not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they'll pass away. As for tongues, they'll cease. As for knowledge, it'll pass away. For we know in part and prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, thought like a child, and reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I gave up my childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. So now faith, hope, and love abide, these three. But the greatest of these is love. This is such a beautiful passage, and when any Christian who's trying to figure out what love means has probably came here at one point or another. But one thing that I figured out in my imperfect human life, where I screw up at least like 5 times a day. Like that's a good day if I'm only screwing up 5 times a day. I need to hear this. I need to hear that if I can do all these things but have not love, I'm really useless. I'm nothing. In my marriage, if I know that I'm right, and I know that I totally understand this and she's totally mistaken and have not love, turns out I'm wrong. I want you to hear that. If you're totally and completely right and you have the sources, you have it on videotape, but have not love, you may as well be wrong. It's no longer helpful. Love is patient. Love is kind. It doesn't envy or boast. And we've heard all of this, and so often a lot of love that we see either defined in media or in our world today lacks these qualities. It's almost like we've rewritten it and said, love is pretty self-serving. I'll love you as long as you're scratching my back, or as long as I think you're pretty, or as long as like you're faithful to me, like sure I'll be faithful to you back. But like as soon as you screw up, like sorry man. But that's not the case at all. And we see this love. We know that God is love. We know that this is the kind of love that God has for us. And I'm just so encouraged by it, and I'm challenged by it. There are so many times when I care about being right more than I care about loving the person I'm talking to. There are so many times when I know that I am for sure, I've got it together, and if only they would listen to me, like they would have it together too. And at that moment, I'm self-seeking, and I'm arrogant, and I'm resentful. All these things that it's saying that love shouldn't be. So, as you go throughout your day, all I want you to think about is this. Are you truly loving those that you're around? When it says love is patient, love is kind, it goes through all these characteristics. Are these the kind of things that you embody with your interactions with people? Right? We're called to love everyone, even our greatest enemy. We're supposed to love everyone. So are you treating everyone this way? And that's hard, because people are annoying. But Jesus knew that, and he surrounded himself with people that I assume had to have annoyed him all the time. Like, have you heard Peter speak? Have you read what he said? Like, he was sticking his foot in his mouth all the time. But he still loved them. It didn't matter what they did. It was all about who Jesus was. God's love isn't dependent on who we are. It's all about who he is. So when we love others, it really shouldn't matter what they're doing to us, because our love comes from ourselves. It's not a, well, you gave me this thing and I can form it and turn it into love for you. It's no, I've been loved by God. I know what that looks like. So I can emulate that and show it to you and give it to you freely with no strings attached. I think that's something that we all need to work on, is being more loving and kind in our interactions with one another. So today, keep track of your love. See how you are interacting with others. See if in moments where you feel like you need to do something or need to say something, you need to give somebody a piece of your mind, make sure you're doing it with love first. Because if you're totally and completely right and you have all the facts to back you up, but have not love, you're wrong. It's no longer helpful. So as you go throughout your day, just keep this in mind. Remember, love your neighbor as yourself, and even love your enemies. Jesus challenged us to this, and we oftentimes feel like it's too much for us to bear. But then we look back at the cross. We realize that as he was dying, as he was being tortured, he was loving those who were doing it to him. And that's a huge calling, and that's really hard, and it's something we'll be working on for the rest of our lives. But that's the goal. So let's work towards that goal together, and let's love the world around us. Until next time, we'll see you then.